Oops, that's not what I want. I want this. And I don't want this. I want this. Okay. Okay, let's run through it. Audio, Ace.
Check, check, check. How do I sound? How do I sound? Do I sound okay? Loud to quiet? Medium?
Sounding relatively on point. Ghost, how about yourself?
Test, 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 test. By the way, can y'all hear anything right
No.
now? Type on
Are
the
you?
keyboard or clicking the mouse?
No. Are you also watching Shrek
Okay.
in the background?
I'm not watching Shrek in the background.
And then what about you, Wes? How's audio?
Testing, testing. One, two, three. Ghost, I did hear some clicking, but it wasn't bad.
Okay.
Like, but yeah.
All right, you sound fine as well. And then what about myself? Does the audio sound acceptable? Is the volume at a decent level? Am I coming in clear?
Yeah.
All good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so if that's on point, I think I'm just gonna drop this and then we'll get right into it. When I say drop this, I'm gonna post this. I've been staring at the same four walls for 21. All right. Jason, you got a second? You can go ahead and check the live stream and see if the audio's we're actually broadcasting.
All right.
Drop a comment so we know we're straight. Okay, other than that, got my water, so I think we're good to go. Not a lot of it, so hopefully I'm not talking too much. Okay. All eyes on me. That'd be a dope little intro record. All eyes on me. You need something like on the other side of the U.S. uh, I'm being facetious. You don't have to really make too much adjustments. Pardon me. Um. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, I guess I will start recording if we're good. 3, 2. And hopefully this looks right. Boom. Nicely, everybody's medium, handsome looking faces. Okay. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, everyone. We're back. Welcome back to the Be Warned and Be Filled Path. Jesus Christ. Be Warned and Be Filled podcast. Jesus. So, it's early. We have all the family here, all the bros here, all the guys. We got Ace.
So,
We got Ghost.
Yo,
We got Wes.
So,
And we got myself, Questlando. Guys, how y'all doing? How y'all feeling?
doing
decent.
all right?
Standard answers.
pretty good.
And I myself, I'm not doing too bad. At time of recording, what date is it? Like July 13th. Dead middle of summer. And yeah, I don't think anyone has any major complaints outside of I don't know how it's looking where you're at, West, but outside of the sporadic storms and rain, I don't think there's too much to complain about. Although, speaking of storms, you definitely have to give a not condolences, not rest in power, salute to all the folks in Texas dealing with like the flooding and nonsense. I don't like how every time they talk about it, like they talk about how the missing contract just keeps going up. Sorry, just doing some quick adjustments. But anyway, we hope no matter where you are, you're staying cool and dry. Anyway, so to get the podcast interest out the way, first and foremost, we are in a good old fashioned topic based podcast. So if there's any topics that anyone would think would make good content for us to talk about, definitely send it our way. We're interested in any and all recommendations in that department. And and also, we're not just asking for stuff, we're also giving out content. I.e., if anyone's ever looking for no music, look no farther than our podcast. Specifically in the description below, you'll be able to find a Spotify playlist with our song recommendations of the week. So if you're looking for some new artists, some new sounds to listen to, definitely check that out. What else? As you know, we do a live 2 hour, 1.5 hour plus podcast, and that might be hard to digest sometimes. So after the podcast, definitely check back, where you'll be able to find timestamps. So if you just want to check around what the discussion was like, what we talked about, we provide that. And if you're just interested in checking out some shorter form content, I definitely recommend you go to our channel, go to the videos tab, and you'll be able to find all of our topic discussion videos sliced down and condensed. But before we get into any topics and deep dive further discussion, does anyone have any content recommendations for the week? Any warm reviews of any content or experiences that they consumed recently that they want to come on here and share?
I do have a warm review, and I will preface this by saying this isn't necessarily an endorsement to not go watch this movie because you may like it. But
Okay, so it's about to be a negative review then.
I saw the Superman movie that just came out this week. Saw it Thursday night, and I
Was that
really
release date?
hated it. I really hated it, and I
Did you go
wasn't
in-
expecting to.
I was about to say, did you go in thinking you were gonna like it, or?
No, I honestly thought I would like it. I mean, superhero fatigue and all that, blah 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 aside, like from the trailers, it looked pretty decent. Looked like it would be fun. So I didn't have super high hopes, but I was expecting to like it. But the more and more the movie went on, the more and more frustrated and angry I got with it.
Jesus.
Because I won't say it's like there's no good qualities to it, because again, like there were some enjoyable moments, like a couple of the characters I liked, like the actual Superman character himself. I didn't mind. I know it's a whole lot of people going to be comparing it to Man of Steel because that was a different type of Superman, but I didn't hate certain things that the movie did. But overall, like I maybe I think there might be something wrong with my perception of the movie because I might not have I should have been expecting more stupidity, I guess, and more of the annoyances that I was experiencing. For one, knowing the director James Gunn, like a lot of people love those Guardians of the Galaxy movies, I do not. So it
Mm.
was tonally similar in some ways to that. And a lot of people really like this movie. That's why I said don't let my review just put you off completely. And I wasn't in the best mood going into it, so maybe that just colored my perception. But all those qualifications aside, like it was it was just in my opinion a very stupid movie. Like there was a lot of stupid things in the movie that were just kind of hand waved, and I got close to walking out, and I never walked out of
Jesus.
movies. But there was just a lot of dumb stuff that the characters were doing, a lot of dumb moments where it's they try to have some emotional beat or something, then it's undercut with some stupid joke. And I know people say Marvel's guilty of that, but this movie was a egregious offender. And yeah, by the end of it, I was just every single thing about it I just found distasteful and frustrating. And I kind of feel like maybe if I were to watch it again in a different headspace, I wouldn't hate it as much. But yeah, that's my spoiler free somewhat review of Superman. If you like like a lot of action, a lot of moving parts, a movie that doesn't necessarily take itself too seriously, I mean you might enjoy it, but just for me, I absolutely did not at all.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Sounds like I
Go
probably
ahead,
won't
Ace.
be going then. So it sounds like I probably won't be going to see it in the theaters at the very least, because stuff like that, like if it's a lot of like you haven't pointed out any structural issues with the film per se, or so just a lot of stupidity.
Yeah, if
I
I
could
was to
see
give
myself
any
wanting to walk out too.
without getting too deep into it, because again, I'm not trying to spoil anything. Like there are some plot threads, especially in like the last third of the movie, that were kind of just it to me. It didn't matter. Like there was a lot of importance being assigned to certain fights and certain confrontations, certain conflicts that while they were going on, I'm thinking this literally does not matter because there's also another plot thread that is a lot more important, like that this minor conflict, this secondary plot thread wouldn't even matter if this primary one wasn't addressed. So
Mm.
that was probably my biggest gripe, to be honest, because like this while this secondary thread was happening, all the while there's a literal world ending catastrophe that is taking place that could mean that this secondary conflict didn't matter at all. It could be resolved and then the entire world could be destroyed 10 minutes later. And again, there was a lot of importance being assigned to certain moments that I feel did not deserve it. And yeah, I also have another gripe, but I feel like it might be a little too spoilery, so I won't say. But
Fair enough. We'll come back to
yeah,
it when we've all seen it. Although that sounds like one of those you just wait till it comes out on HBO Max type of deals. Um, Fair enough.
Yep,
Yeah, we
I
were
was
talking about
considering going to see it too.
yeah, we were talking about it before the show started. I will say, when it comes to Superman specifically, it is always kind of funky because unless you like damn near just wholly market it to like kids and make it just super generic, superhero ish. or make some like Justice League stuff, where like everyone just excited to see everyone. Superman is hard to make stories for. I think I don't know if we deep dive into it when we were younger, but like reading some of the comics, you have to like really kind of go in a different direction. Do you remember that one
Right.
story, Ace? Not the one where Superman was from a different country. I think it was like when they were.
Yeah.
Oh, we're like. This is. I
Are
don't
you talking
want to
about
spoil it.
Russian Superman?
There was
That was
that,
one.
but I think you probably know what I'm talking about, Ace. But you can't spoil anything, even though these things have existed for years. But you know the one I'm talking about, where like he existed in a world where Superman was like a fictional entity.
I don't know. I don't know if
This
I
is a comic
remember
book.
that.
Yeah, it was a
Actually,
comic book. It's kind
I
of hard
don't
to
know if I
explain
remember.
without like giving up too much, but I'm pretty sure we read one where it was actually relatively moderately interesting. But yeah,
Mm,
outside of like when you got a really super in depth mind, Superman's always going to be pretty bare bones, and some of the plots aren't just going to be convoluted because at the end of the day, when you make a invincible man with one weakness, amen.
yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's very
If I
true.
if I had to give one, I don't know. This is the closest to a spoiler I have gotten. I'll try not to give anything specific, but I don't think this movie had that problem necessarily where Superman is just OP and it's hard to make a compelling conflict because of it. I'll say that was not a problem of this movie. Almost the opposite in some ways.
Damn. Well, either way, we'll see. Um, Fair enough. Is there anything else? Any other content recommendations or reviews?
Yeah, real quick, I went swimming. Am I muted or no?
Obviously, yes.
I went swimming yesterday specifically for the purpose of swimming. Like I just went by myself. I don't remember the last time I've done that, if I've done it ever. But
And you
I
enjoy
do
it.
want to try to. Yeah, yeah, I did. I did. I want to try to get better and um yeah, it was super fun. I know I can at least float on my back indefinitely. Treading water the normal way is still very hit or miss, but I think it's mostly comes down to being like getting in the water more because I like historically if I get in the water once a year, it's been that would be like an abnormal year. Usually I never have time to go in the water, so yeah, I just need to do it more. But yeah.
I don't know why people like downplay. Like swimming is very enjoyable, and obviously
Yeah, yeah,
in the
it's fun.
summer, it's like the extra boost because you're cooling off. But like, it's just like kind of fun just being in a body of water and you're just kind of not really stressing too much, unless you,
Mhm.
I guess, unless you're like drowning. But nice. Nice. So maybe by the end of the summer, Ace will come back and say he can. What's the highest level of swimming? Do I feel like with some type of marathon. He'll be a swimming expert.
Yeah.
Anyway, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, Unless there's anything else, I feel if I had a review, but I'm still working on some of the stuff I'm watching and reading. So, unless there's anything else, I guess we can get right into the topics. And you already have that pulled up, so let me just adjust some of the screens. Check out that. Put this. Go here. Some of the names might not be in the right location, so bear with me. Back here. Yeah, names is all effed up. Let me do a quick boom. Uh-oh. Nice. We do it right on the fly. Okay. First topic, we like to keep things relatively light, nothing too intricate or anything too devastating to break down. Obviously, this was from about a month ago or so back, but um, at the beginning of the summer, not everyone, but there's so much excitement in the air because all the graduations happening, all the graduation celebrations. Everyone's hyped because a lot of young people's hard work has finally paid off. I'm sure we've all been to a graduation party or celebration this year, one or two ourselves, and yeah, you know, we obviously remember when we were coming out of school, the feeling that we were feeling, the excitement was in the air. But we're in a different day and age, and some people are. I feel as if one of the elements that's impacted all areas of life is the virality and the showmanship of certain things. Although one can make the case that someone here did a very viral moment, and if we had social media as popping as it was back in the day, that would have been all over TikTok and cough cough ace. But I don't think any of us would ever do something quite this. I don't know what the right word. I don't want to call it blatantly stupid, but so much disregard. So, salute to the Feared Bucked, whatchamacallit, account. They posted UCLA graduate celebrates by showing off the chatgpt he used for his final project right before officially graduating. So let's just watch it. Although, can you turn down that volume a bit, Ace? Because, like, almost damn near all the way down. Because I think they use, like, a song. I don't want to get copyrighted off the first thing.
Mm.
ChatGPT. Also, obviously, apologies for the choppiness of the video and the quality. We super apologize and appreciate the viewership all the time. But just to recap, it was just a brother showing off his laptop and showing and scrolling through his final projects, and when he was going through some of the tabs he had up, one of them was the ChatGPT page right up. So, again, you want to go out with the bang. You want to do something that's gonna get you. People are gonna remember for all ages, and I guess a part of his exit was showcasing that he's his final project. I wonder what major he was. Maybe I should do some more research. But all the same, the simple question that arises out of this, obviously, who amongst us doesn't use AI tools in our day to day to for efficiency to get certain questions to just address real quick. Although I have my gripes when you ask AI tools certain questions, they don't be knowing shit. Sorry, they don't be doing anything. I think in some spaces they make the case that there's a certain level of whatchamacallit, like honor you're supposed to uphold, codes. I don't know if schools have finally started to change up their policies, but there are some schools where you can't use AI tools to do your tests and assignments and projects like this. Dang, would we have used AI for some of our projects back in the day, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, I guess
Hmm.
it depends on
Anyway.
how you use it. It depends on how you.
I mean, at this point in the day, I feel like it feels like you could just punch in, "Hey, I have a final project due on the thesis of uh, colonization. Can you just drop me up a whole paper, please?" Anyway, the question is simply becomes if someone is so blatant and red-handed about their use of ChatGPT or AI tools regarding their tests or final projects or major projects, should schools start revoking their degrees, diplomas, um, so on and so forth? I'll start with you, Wes. What do you think? You think this is all cool and just a nice little laugh right off, or do you think actually school should look into, oh, so you wanna broadcast using these tools and start yoinking degrees?
I think that the time that we're in is complicated because it's a transitionary period where people are starting to use these tools, which just came into popularity a couple years ago. So, like, most of these kids have gone through at least their elementary, middle, and part of high school, a lot of them, without access to these things. And so that means that generally they got a similar high school education and or at least elementary school, middle school, as we did, which means that they had to do stuff, quote unquote, the hard way, which means that they had to do a lot of repetition
I don't know about
in
the
order to learn
hard
stuff
way.
like. I mean, so I've talked about this at length with other people and stuff, but like there's certain things that you just have to do a lot of, like math. You just have to do a lot of times tables to get the intuition where okay, I know these times tables like the back of my hand and I can incorporate them in what I'm doing later. And or even writing certain skills that you have, you might understand the concept immediately, but if you don't do it a lot, you're not going to be a good student or you're not going to be able to succeed because you can't apply them quickly. And if it takes you too long to apply the concepts, you're not going to be able to get deeper into the thing as quickly as you need to. So those people, if they decide to use ChatGPT now, they're going to lose out on a lot of practice that we had by nature of how you just had to do things. And so I think there needs to be controls so that that doesn't happen. So that the things that you have to do a lot of exercises in, uh, that you don't lose that practice. But on the other hand, if you already have that practice and you're kind of smart about how you learn, I think I've heard of professors being like, well, you can use ChatGPT, but if it sucks, I'm still going to give you a bad grade. And I think that is a reasonable approach because, well, it was and maybe still kind of is a reasonable approach because the stuff that it puts out, the stuff that ChatGPT puts out, is not the best. Like even in terms of papers and stuff like that. Problem is, it could potentially get better,
It
and at
will.
that point, you're not necessarily evaluating the student, and that becomes a problem. But if the quality is what it is or was maybe a year ago, now that because I can't necessarily value it, I haven't given it a huge text to write recently, but um, if it was like that and you had to go back through and edit it yourself, you are still evaluating the student's ability to at least read and revise and deal out something that has some quality to it, which I think I think that's a fair way to treat the thing. If you use ChatGPT, if you use AI, and it's not good, then that's on you. But again, until the point where perhaps it gets too good, where okay, it can use even the student's tone and it sounds fairly reasonable and it seems like it's been gone through, or you put it through multiple levels of revision or AI revision. Yeah, it could be kind of it could get to the point where it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, I don't know. I think being in the transitionary period, I think if the teachers aren't picking up on it now or the past couple years,
Oh,
that
some
means they're
professors
not.
are.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, and if they weren't and they're passing you, that's kind of on them. And but as I said, if it gets better, I think they should be a little bit more or scrutinized more. I think there should be more handwritten uh, projects when it comes to writing. Like I had a class where we just had essays to write. Every assignment was just an essay that you handwrite in class, and like that, this all gets kind of weeded out. But
That's
you can't
some
really do a research
that's
project
some
that way.
junior high stuff. No professor or teacher is making their students write in this, handwrite in this day and age.
I think it's not a bad idea. I enjoyed that course, but it's only certain subjects uh, are more amenable to something like that, and certain subjects aren't. You can't just do that with everything. But it can be an option if you want to really evaluate the person's understanding. You sit them down in a block and say, "All right, you're gonna write." I mean, even if you said you can do it on a word processor, you can do it on Word or whatever. You have a computer, you can type it, but you can't use AI tools or you can't use the internet or whatever. Um, I think that's reasonable in this period. But as far as revoking diplomas, as you mentioned before, uh, it seems a bit extreme because, like I said, the filter should be with the professors uh, and how they run their class, not necessarily that okay, he got the diploma, but now you're gonna go back and say no, you could. It's a problem because what? Like,
Because some people see that as cheating. What do you mean because of what?
I mean, yes, yes, but I feel like the filter should be at the professor level. Like in the class in which you used it, they should be catching that. If you got by, I feel like it's kind of a foregone thing. Like, uh, but I don't know. I guess I can see both sides because it is in a way like plagiarism, whatever. And I think you would get normally you would get either a degree
School is turbo don't like that
or
plagiarism stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They'll threaten to
They
kick you out.
considered it to, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I can see why, but like I said, they should be catching it in the class. I don't know.
Fair enough. You're basically saying this is not a federal problem. This is a state problem, state level problem. um, what about yourself, Ghost? As it pertains to using AI tools, AI assistants for some of these important level finals and final projects. Do you think if students get caught red-handed, blatantly, no question about it, that schools can start looking into doing some degree revoking or diploma revoking, or do you think all is fair and love in school?
Um, I think for the most part, I'm with Wes's take on the vetting process needing to be done at a professor level. And if the professor didn't fail the student, if I don't want to say if he didn't catch him, but if the professor determined that the student's quality of work was above the standard that is needed to graduate, then I think I'm tentatively okay with this. However, for one, I'll say that this is pretty fucking stupid for this kid to do this. It's just like even if nothing happens, you're just begging for some type of repercussion. But I mean, there is in this specific case, I mean, there's recourse in that the kid could say that he didn't actually use it; it was just for jokes and just because he had it, he
Oh,
has
it was a prank, bro.
there.
That is
Yeah,
a school
exactly.
excuse.
Just because the images were there doesn't mean he actually did it. He was just trying to be funny. So I don't think that like failing based off a situation like this, where he's just trying to be funny, even if there is truth in him using ChatGPT, I don't think he should be automatically have his degree revoked for this. I do think there's are heading down the slippery slope where if you're graduating and you let ChatGPT do everything, or if it's not up to that capability yet, if it gets to the point where ChatGPT can do all your work for you and it's indistinguishable by a professor, and you're not learning anything, I think that's I think that's a problem because I've been on record like I'm not a condone I don't condone college. I've cheated before in college. Like I'm not saying I'm above
They're
any
about to
of
take away
this.
your degree.
It's too late now. But I'm not above any of this. I probably wouldn't have used ChatGPT when I was in the school, but that's just my general distrust of AI. But there needs to be some level of like knowledge, like at the end of the day, you know what you're doing. Your degree is not completely false. That's what it should really boil down to. And if ChatGPT is doing literally everything for you, if I was an employer and I'm looking to hire someone fresh out of school and I see this image right here, bro, I'm not hiring you because even if it's just a joke, even if it's just for laughs, I don't know if you actually know what you're doing or not. This could be a situation where ChatGPT did everything and get hired for the company, you don't know jack squat. And there already is an element of that when you're a fresh hire, and a lot of your learning comes on the job. College does not teach you, in many cases, a quarter of what you need to know to succeed in the workplace. But there are still some valuable takeaways that you can get from you see someone with a degree and say, okay, they have at least some baseline knowledge of whatever they're being hired for. And there's a lot of doubt that can be installed when you see something like this, when you see ChatGPT doing everything for a student. And I know for a fact, like, this might be hypocritical as an engineer, but if I see like a doctor or some shit saying they use ChatGPT to graduate medical school, bro, I'm get the degree revoked, bro, because I try to have them operating on someone. I ain't trying to have them diagnosing someone when they don't know what they're talking about whatsoever.
But what about if they're already in the position as a doctor? Like you go into the office and you see it on the screen on their computer.
It depends. Is it based off of like, oh, they were doing I can't remember what they call the medical training specifically, but residency or whatever they call it. If they have experience, if they had knowledge, if they've gained
I'm
that.
talking about your doctor.
Oh, you're talking about my specific doctor, and I see
Yeah.
that. If this guy was my doctor, bro,
Yeah,
I
definitely
am.
somebody's
Well,
future doctor or future something.
no,
If I don't know
not even that.
anything,
Not even that. Not that you see a video of him in school doing this, but you see him now. Like you go into his office and you see on his computer screen, ChatGPT is up.
if it's not okay, if it's saying like ChatGPT, the patient has X, Y, and Z symptoms. What is this? Nah. I'm not only changing my doctor. I'm calling some type of higher authority on you. That's where it's like, nah, that's a huge problem. But I mean,
I
I'm
think
not
this
gonna
this has
immediately.
happened, by the way. I think there was a
Oh my
picture floating
god.
around on the internet. I mean, I don't know how true it was, but this was the
Yo,
case.
I'm suing the shit out of whatever hospital, whatever doctor that is, bro. Because you're not gonna get me diagnosed. I could do this myself. I could literally go on ChatGPT myself and look it up. Nah. I guess what it really boils down to is, does this person know what they're talking about without relying on ChatGPT or AI as a crutch? If the answer is no, then revoke that degree. If the answer is yes, then I'm willing to let it slide, but it's kind of hard to know just off the rip. So my baseline's gonna be kind of already suspicious in a situation like this, or maybe leaning towards the degree revoke side, just because we don't know.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yeah, you bring up
It's
an
strange.
interesting point, or
No,
start to
go ahead.
go into an interesting direction of I don't know what like the scrutiny that employers do in this day and age, or like how far a person's digital footprint can go inside the workforce space can go. But imagine your employer, your potential future employer, just bump into a video of you doing this stuff. Depending on the company, they're like, "This do we want this knucklehead in our company? He's gonna chat GPT everything." Oh yeah, but and last but not least, what about you, Ace? Do you have any hot takes regarding this? Do you think students, if they're caught red-handed using AI tools for finals and final projects and important assignments, you think schools should start considering pulling back some of those degrees?
Yes. I mean, in this case in particular, like the goofiness of showing it at your graduation, I just want I would like to see the justice where they
What do you
just
mean?
maybe
He's
they
just
don't
hype.
fully revoke.
He's caught up
Nah,
in the
nah,
moment.
nah. You're being dumb. Like you're being dumb. You're showing it off to the school. They should take it. They should take the degree and maybe do like a probationary thing, where it's all right. We're gonna put all your papers now. They're under a review. Review. We got the whole academic department has to look at it, not just the one teacher. And I'm assuming. I mean, of course, they wouldn't be able to tell him like, show us your laptop so we could actually see what you were showing on the thing. But but yeah, I don't like this. I don't like the way it looks. I don't think I have much of a problem with people using ChatGPT to help in school per se either. Like I do think they're shortchanging themselves in some ways, but I think it can be used in a way that still allows you to learn, but enhances that learning as opposed to just completely being reliant on it. Yeah, if you're gonna show it like this, it's like this is different. It's a different issue than just you use Chat GPT. You're like rubbing it in their faces. It's disrespectful. That's what it comes down to for me, more than anything else.
Jeez, don't let Ace be all dean of students. He's no nonsense about that AI stuff. Uh, Fair enough. Yeah, I think the moral of the story here does kind of boil down to and kind of delving into the points where some of y'all are mentioning of just like obviously these tools are here and they're here to stay. Um, so obviously organizations and schools are gonna have to be conscious, and they are being conscious of the fact that these tools are being used. Um, and it's kind of hard when some people are kind of just in the midst of it and they just want to get out of it. But like it was mentioned, there is a lot of value to doing things in a more not even archaic, just a manner that's going to be more you're going to be more receptive to actually retaining and just kind of building your experience and skill base, i.e. doing some things, going into books, doing like good old fashioned research, writing for yourself. Like those skills, if you do hone in on them, take you a long way. Again, it's kind of hard to translate that to a young person that are really just in the midst of it, trying to get out and get on to the next journey of their life. But again, they definitely those things definitely hold value.
Quick survey of
Go
the
ahead.
engineering profession. How many of y'all, or what percentage do y'all think in your places, in your workplaces, of people be on ChatGPT? It's like I've seen it firsthand. Like I walk by somebody's screen, see the tab up, like
In the workplace
in
or
the
in
office, in your workplace, like in
mm,
your well, in your
well,
like department, not necessarily HR and stuff, but like in engineering.
my work situation's a little unique in that. Well, back when I had another coworker who was in the engineering department, as I said, coworker one, uh, he used it a lot, but he used it for like writing purposes. Because to be frank, his grammar was atrocious. So he used that for like letters, reports, emails, which
Emails,
is
yeah.
like that's fine. As far as actual design specifications, I think he might have used it a few times to like look through regulations and highlight key points. But that's one of the things where I don't trust that. I don't trust ChatGPT to catch everything that I need to catch. So that's where I would get a little shaky in relying on it. But for day to day tasks, simple things, I don't think there's a problem with it in the workplace.
Similar.
So
Um,
100% for you.
similar. Interestingly enough, not in a particular position that I am in now, but I have seen it, and I've noticed that it's definitely younger folks, like around my age or younger, that's more inclined to use the tools, for not just emails, but for actually engineering documentation as well. Um, but when I'm working on programs or positions with predominantly like older folks, they're not with that stuff.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I would say pretty much 100% of my team, and I would be surprised if most other people not on my team don't use it as well. Um, I mean, my
Don't use it.
manager, yeah, yeah, they
Hmm.
all use it.
Oh, okay.
Manager,
Yeah, you.
a former manager, yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody uses it. Um, I think where I work skews younger, so that probably contributes as well. Yeah.
Huh, you don't use. No, never mind. Um, yeah, no. I mean, I think it's up there too, like 80% maybe. I've seen it. Heard people talking about it, like I said, and yeah, I mean, and I think it just comes down to how you use the tool, really, because like even what you said, Ghost, like if you're looking up specs and regulations and stuff like this, ChatGPT will literally make up a spec, like make up a
Yes.
section and write it out
Yep.
and act like it exists.
Yep.
But if you have access to the documentation, what I normally do is I'll ask for the source and go try to find it. And a lot of times they'll give you links that don't exist. So
But
you're
you'll
right.
have
Like,
to. Sorry, this is kind of a tangential thing, but like at that point, what's even the use? Because you have. Wouldn't you feel the need to check the source for every single item it gives you
no,
to
it's
answer the
literally
ones you
like
have questions on?
no, exactly. So like if I say, can you point me to the relevant sections about this in this big document? It can be. I mean, it's not wrong. 100. Like it's wrong. Maybe like I don't know. Maybe like 30% of the links and stuff might be bull crap, but like the other ones, they're valid. And I'll go to the section and I'll get the information I need from the actual official link
But
or official
if you
document.
have to check every single one, my thing again, this is kind of tangential, not really relevant here, but like
And
if you have to
it's
check every
getting
single
off
one,
the
then why
point.
wouldn't you just
No, but well, for my, I'll give you an example. I have to deal with the difference between the international standards and U.S. standards because I'm used to the U.S. standards,
yeah.
and I have to do the translation. So if I look something up, I say, what's the equivalent standard, or where do I need to look to get this standard in international spec?
Okay, okay.
And if it gives me something, I at least have something to grab
All
onto
right,
because I
I
don't know
see.
exactly what to search. I might even be looking in French and not in English. Like there's a lot to filter through that it can more quickly get me somewhere in the zone of where I need to be, as opposed to me just trying to figure it out
Yeah,
in my
that
own head.
makes sense.
Yeah, Ghost. It's the same with like any codes that you're not familiar with and you don't necessarily want to go digging through page by page to try to find what you're looking for. I mean, I guess you could use the chapter, I mean, the contents too, but sometimes it can just be easier to say, where's X in this code? Or, give me a summary of this section or whatever. And then get the and make sure you have the actual reference like that you can pull up. But
I don't know. That's kind of the exact situation that I would want to use it in because I can ask for a summary, but if it gives me an item that it says it's there, but it actually isn't, how do I know that it's not missing something that's there and just forgetting to summarize it?
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't.
yeah. I shouldn't have necessarily brought up a summary, um but yeah, definitely for um searching for specific locations of information, it can certainly be helpful.
All right, all right. That's enough. Engineering deep dives. It's supposed to be relatively light. Um, but I'll still open it up unless there's anything else we can move on to the next topic. Okay. Salute to the global statistics page on X/Twitter. They posted this, and I've been thinking about this. Yeah, I think I might have even spoken to y'all about this. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I'm curious to, although more so in the inverse, but I'll get more into that, and I'm curious to know what you guys think as well. So, according to this post, Berlin has made a progressive move by officially allowing women to go topless at public swimming pools, aligning dress code regulations equally across all genders. The change followed a complaint by a woman, of course, because who else would complain? Just joking. Who was asked to cover up while men swam shirtless, prompting intervention from a city's anti-discrimination office. Authorities acknowledged the inconsistencies in rules and revised the policies to ensure equal rights for all individuals, regardless of gender. This step has been seen as a win for gender equality, body autonomy, and personal freedom. City officials emphasized that public spaces should not enforce outdated norms, and all people should be treated fairly. The new regulation reflects the ongoing discussions in Germany and Europe around nudity and equal rights, setting a modern example for inclusive public policies. So, there you have it. Basically, somebody finally was able to get through to the appropriate channels and get the point across that, hey, why in the world can guys walk around without their shirts on, but we as women have to walk around with their shirt with some type of top? And this has probably been a discussion slash a joke slash like meme for damn near a generation at this point. But I don't think we've ever actually bumped into the discussion, so I'm curious to know what you guys think. And to what I was mentioning before, like what's crazy? I always thought this as a kid, just in the back of my mind, just like, when it gets hot out, or like especially in certain parts of your city or your town, where it's a bit more where it's a bit more rural. You'll just see like guys come out the house with their just broad like whole like chest and back, and we live in the States. We're talking about international topics, so a lot of guys are like bad built and have like the most pudgy chests and and bodies built.
All right, come on.
And I've always thought it was just
You
like
don't got a
weird.
body shame.
No, listen. When it comes to men, it's allowed for some reason. And as a kid, I always thought, why is this acceptable? So this is why I find this post interesting. But in the inverse, if it was up to if I was the authorities in these countries or these offices, I'd be like, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. This is unfair. We want a nice equitable society where things can be a bit more egalitarian. So everyone has to wear his top. That's what I would do. Just kind of giving a spoiler to how I look at these things. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. Are you guys with things being fair, balanced, and equal, or I guess this comes down to like a traditional thing? I guess traditional versus modern day inclusive mentalities. Do you think putting aside everything, just looking relatively objective, or maybe you can just not be objective, do you think there should be some fairness and balance as it pertains to what men and women can wear in public? Who would I want to start off with? Who has a nice hot take about this? Well, Shayu goes. What do you think?
Discussions like this are always very funny to me, because it's like people can be so obtuse and purposely like stupid to the point of ridiculousness. In an ideal world, yes, men and women are equal, or men and women are treated the same. Men can walk around shirtless in public. Women can walk around shirtless. Do we do realize the world we live in, right? Like, if you you let women walk around topless, they'll be harassed, catcalled, blah blah blah, whatever, which a lot of women have complained about and is definitely a real concern, a real thing. And the reaction that a woman will have to a shirtless man is a lot different than the reaction that a man will have to a shirtless woman. Just talking about like general population, not anything specific. Is this are we in an ideal society where in an ideal society that men would treat a woman with respect and vice versa and they wouldn't comment and it would be seen as normal? No, we don't live in a society. So it's stupid to act like we do. And I'm gonna keep it straight up. At least, and I'm being generous here, at least half of men will have some type of unflattering or flattering if you want to look at it that way, some type of salacious comment toward if they see a random topless woman walking around, and the ratio is a lot smaller if a woman would see a shirtless man walking around. At least they will make it known. So this is it's seen as a win for gender equality. It sure it's a win, but it's also fucking stupid because it's pretending we live in a certain type of society that we don't. So let's be real and let's do things that make sense. Like to be honest, like Quest, your solution of everyone has to have a top on, that's probably what I would do. I don't want to see men or women walking around topless necessarily. But like we live in a world where it's seen as somewhat normal for men to be shirtless at a beach or in public, and it's not seen that way for women. So I don't care if it's not the way that it should be, if it's not ideal. Let's have rules in place that reflect what society actually is like.
So what you're saying, as a man with outdated, not modern views, that a woman can't share the same equality because other men will make remarks. That's what you're saying, Ghost?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because again, in an ideal world, we wouldn't have to worry about this. Women wouldn't have to be worried about being sexually assaulted or whatever on a disproportionate rate than what men have to worry about.
I don't know. You know me, I'm about to stretch to make the wild example. Couldn't you make the case that somebody at some point was saying people of different ethnicities can't use the same bathrooms or drink at the same water fountains because you might have somebody making off-colored commentary about
This is excellent devil's advocate work, by the way. Just well done.
I'm just saying you're trying to halt progress because some of the bad actors will make comments. I don't know. Don't know.
Oh goodness. I don't have to actually respond to that, do I?
Oh, yeah, if you want to stick to it, I don't know. I don't know if it passes all of the factors. Like I said, it don't have to be objective. This can be your raw personal opinion, even though you are coming with a lot of facts. But yeah, we can move on. Maybe someone else will address those points. Ace, what about you? It seems like some places are trying to move to a more equitable space. I think all societies want equality to some extent. So what do you think of this type of measure or policy that they would put in place? You think, even though it is a bit perverse, that it does make sense for there to be equality in these ways, or are you sticking with the old-fashioned traditional views and you're not moving?
I mean, I can definitely understand the uh the inability to push back, like for Berlin as a country or whatever, as a governing authority, to push back against women wanting to go topless, because to me, like, Ghosts, your points about um it being more dangerous for women, um or they'll be harassed more, like, ultimately, does that mean that the government is supposed to intervene and be like, well, we're gonna take the choice away from you, regardless of if you believe that the situation that you're in is safe, that you're in a protected environment, or that you're in a public environment where those things are unlikely to escalate to any dangerous degree. We're just gonna completely continue to take that choice away from you altogether, and in the name of protecting you. Like I don't think that argument necessarily holds up. And also, um, I mean, for one, I don't know what the situation is like in Berlin. Maybe it is similar to the States in terms of women getting harassed, etc. But because we live in a situation where that's the case, that doesn't mean that that could not change um if the culture bends toward a different direction, like um the the convention of men not wearing shirts now, I don't know where that came from. I don't know how long that's been around, but I don't
It's just
necessarily
the beginning
think
of time.
it,
Like
it
when
does seem to be. Yeah.
when men are
Well,
out in the fields working, they're gonna throw off their loins and girders and just working with their chest out.
I suppose. um but you also have like cultures where women do not, or women are topless or whatever, like indigenous cultures, as well as places where it's been more normalized recently. Maybe, like I think Spain is one where, maybe I'm mixing it up with another place, but I feel like Spain is one where um that's much more common to have on beaches and things like that. And um I feel like the perception of these things being um um how do you say it, like taboo or whatever, can shift.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't like I do feel like, for one, it would I can understand the difficulty in arguing against it for sure. And I mean, yeah, me personally, I would struggle to be like, well, if given that men can be topless, like enforcing that women shouldn't. Like I would struggle to argue against that.
Yeah, man. When we all have personal views, and some of that stem from like culture, scriptural, spiritual, religious, wherever you want to frame that. Just the status quo. But if you really are trying to be as objective as possible, I mean, it's kind of it's kind of hard to make the case for why. I mean, I'm sure somebody that's like super well versed in like the specific niche, like they've went to school for like sex differences and the biology and like metaphysics behind all that could kind of break it down. But on just a base level, it's kind of hard to make the argument for why it shouldn't be. Um,
Yeah, yeah, and maybe this is I mean, this is certainly an unfounded opinion, but I do feel like it would it would become a thing where, because women are not wearing that much on the beach now, like a bra, or whatever, a bikini is not leaving much to the imagination. So the I don't necessarily think, like, maybe the first year or something like that, it would be seen as super uncommon, and like um maybe there would be some type of issue of um like escalated catcalling or whatever. But I do kind of feel like people will get used to it pretty quickly too, because again, there's not that much being left to the imagination right now.
yeah. Also, I don't know if it makes a difference, but the crazy part is I don't know how it is in like European places, but catcalling is damn near banned in some places in the states. Like I know in California,
Mm,
they got rules and regulations regarding that. Obviously,
I did not know that.
it's kind of hard to manage because there's not like a police station at every corner or every beach. So it's, a lot of those cases probably don't actually make it anywhere far, but yeah, it's definitely frowned upon, if not downright banned in a lot of places. All
Yeah.
the same.
Um, one more point I'll make is like, there are certainly instances where I think, um, trying to, I don't know how to say it, like, at the very least, advise women to do certain things to protect themselves, um, is wise. Like, just as a quick example, I was recently listening to a podcast with my sisters where this woman was, um, killed. She was like
Jesus.
running in the early hours of the morning, like 4:30 or something a.m. by herself, and she
Solo
ended up getting
jogger.
killed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's like, okay, while she should be able to do that without being murdered, like the people, you can't control every single person in the world. Like the government, it's impossible for them to control every single bad actor in the world. So like in one way, like yes, you can say, I don't know, people should be educated. You could even say men should be more educated to be XYZ towards women, so these things are don't happen. It's like, as much as you can say that should be the case, you cannot control everybody. So, um, it would certainly be wise to, for men to advise their daughters to, to buddy system type thing. Don't do stuff in late night, early morning type stuff. Like, um, it at the very least, advising against certain things, um, makes sense. I still don't necessarily see it getting to the point where the government should say now women can't go out between X and X hours of the morning. Again,
That's like a
that'd
policy
be very
I wouldn't next.
totalitarian.
Y'all know me.
Yeah,
I'm of the belief that
Oh yeah, I forgot
women should not be
your
out
rule.
alone by themselves
Yeah.
after sunset. So if you were to put it a time like 10 o'clock,
I
absolutely,
forgot about that, bro.
not even a question. But sorry.
yeah. So I still wouldn't go that far, but that was just to say, like, there are certainly things I certainly concur on the point that women are not the same as men in terms of being able to, I mean, even being able to defend themselves against certain things, and being probably more susceptible to getting into those situations in the first place because of men. So
Fair enough.
that's
Yeah,
it.
I'm rolling. And then what about you, Wes? I'm interested in hear your multicultural, multi international take on this. Do you think, for better or for worse, we should continue to move into a society where things are more equal, or you're not with that stuff?
Um, I think it is. I mean, it's fully cultural. The decision that the culture that we've been raised in decided on. And I don't think there's necessarily a right or wrong. I also don't necessarily think that it's unequal, that men can be
Okay,
shirtless and
this is
women
the hot take
can't.
I was looking for. Break it down.
Essentially, the way I see it is that men and women have different anatomy. Certain pieces of anatomy on women have been determined that they need to be covered up. Certain pieces of anatomy on men have
Who
determined
determined
that they
that?
need to be covered up. It's part of the culture. As I said, everything is strictly cultural. And in our culture, the one
Yeah,
that
but
we've been
we
raised in,
don't adhere to all our cultural practices anymore.
no, but
We don't hunt,
I'm not
gather,
in.
and can enact war the same way we used to.
Yeah, sure, sure. But I'm not in the business of saying, with some exceptions,
Yeah,
one
so
culture.
this I can already tell this is not going to be true. Continue.
No, but one culture is more right than another culture in their practices. If they're not, to be clear, we're not talking about cultural practices that harm anyone. We're not talking about cultural practices that harm. Basically anything that has to do with harming other people or harming yourself. That I'm not talking about. But I'm talking about, okay, we've arbitrarily decided that we want to cover up this and we want this to be public, we want this to be private, we want this to be this. These types of things, if they're handled with respect, I think a culture can make these decisions and have these types of nuances within them and not be super judged. Like, I'm not gonna judge a culture if that culture
Mm,
says women
I
can
mean,
be topless.
harm is relative. What about a
Well, I
culture
mean, if
that?
it's literally,
What
for
about
example,
a culture that believes that that's alcohol is a big part of the culture, and they believe that even kids can start drinking alcohol when they're younger.
as I said, it's a question of harm. If you have women drinking alcohol when
Who's
they're
to determine
pregnant,
harm though?
if you have women drinking alcohol when they're pregnant and their children have fetal alcohol syndrome, that's harm. If you have children drinking
I'm
alcohol,
not talking about drinking when you're pregnant. I'm talking about like there are. I'm pretty sure we're kind of abreast of the fact that like the like eh, the reason why like age limits for drinking exists is because it derives from like cultural norms, and for some places you can start drinking damn near when you're 14 or around that age.
I don't. It's not the worst thing that could happen. I don't think necessarily that lower drinking age, necessarily means that it doesn't mean you have to drink. It also doesn't mean that you're going to
I
become a
mean, no one
drunkard.
says
Like,
you have to go topless, but we're talking about a world in which you can.
no, okay, fine. But it's literally, it doesn't have to. You're saying cover up in public and what you do in private is different. Whatever. But it's not something that is saying to ingest something. It's not something that's literally linked directly to your physical health. Don't try to stretch it.
Okay,
I think you understand what I mean.
I'll use up a little.
So yes. So I think that with qualifications, cultural choices are cultural choices. And so, with that said, yeah, I think it's just certain parts of the anatomy that have been determined to be covered in public versus, yeah, covered in public, whatever. And so, it's not necessarily unequal. With that said, if you were going to argue from a strict point of equality and to say, yes, if why can person be topless and the other person not be topless, ignoring the blatant fact that men and women have different anatomy, I would agree with you in terms of make everybody put a shirt on it. Especially given the climate that we have now. Maybe at one point that rule could be maybe let everybody do what they want,
What is the climate we have now?
and but climate that we have now in which I think it would be somewhat, especially, yeah, I think in the US it would be shocking for most Americans to just be topless. I don't think the culture is necessarily set up to just make that,
But you're
like, if you
saying
make that change today, I think tomorrow a lot of people would be uncomfortable and a lot of people would probably be dealing with, yeah, some types of harassment cases and things like this.
okay, but we understand we don't necessarily stop progress because
Why do you say it's progress? That's the thing I don't agree
Oh,
with either.
I
This is
did.
not
I
necessarily.
should have started with you. This is good.
This is,
That's what I like. Here we go. Somebody
but this
came
is this
ready
is
today.
this is part of my point too. Is like when I say that within reason, judging a
Hold
culture
on.
based on its cultural norms versus another culture is not necessarily valid, especially if it's subtle things like this. Who's to say that you can't have both of
At,
these
at a
cultures be
at a base level,
perfectly?
at a base level, you would make the case that it's progress because if there was a point in time where there was a rule in place or a relatively norm in place in which people cannot do things, but now they have more liberty to do things, you would generally say that's
I don't
progress.
think that's progress.
I,
No.
I'm just going base. I'm just kind of just breaking it down definitionally. I think I'm not necessarily loading anything. More liberty
You,
is
you said
typically assigned to progress.
You mean positive progress quest or just a progression?
Progress
I'm
towards
not
something.
I'm not
who knows
loading
what.
Change
any.
is not progress.
I'm not
What was
loading
that?
more. I'm not. I didn't say.
Change is not progress.
We're not
Just
talking
because
about
Exactly.
things
change. We're
means
talking.
good.
We're not talking about change. We're talking about more liberty, more
Yeah, but no,
ability
but
to
okay,
do what you more freedoms.
okay, but we're talking about the public sphere as well. We're talking about relational things, and therefore, when you just say liberty, okay, individual liberty versus how you treat others or how you relate to others or how you present in front of others, this all becomes tied up. So if you just say liberty to the max, that might offend and that might be problematic when it becomes interpersonal. So I think we're not saying you can't live your life the way you want to live, but we're saying you can't do certain things in public. You can't. Public indecency is the thing. Like you can't pee on the in public.
I mean,
There's certain things that you can.
going back to like who like assigns these things. I think that's why this is even a topic of discussion because I think we can all generally get on board with the fact that we as humans have private parts, but who designated a woman's quote unquote chest as a private part?
I
Good question.
mean,
The culture.
Okay,
doesn't.
but
I
again,
mean, say the
again,
culture,
you're not going to from like a policy perspective like keep winning based off like or not winning but keep things in the same place based off like well this is how our society has always seen it because again that's what they could you could I know the example sucks but you could say hey we've always as a society we've always had people of different races working for us for free so why this is the culture.
I think that's a little.
No,
That's
no,
too
no, no.
reductive a question.
Bro,
You can go
again,
to a rabbit hole of saying, okay, it's culturally inappropriate to murder people. Like, it's you.
Well that
I
go
feel like this argument is too like.
and I agree and I agree with what Wes is saying as it
I,
pertains to
I,
no, no. The point is,
as it pertains
Quest
to
point.
harm
Quest point.
as it pertains to harmful acts. I think we have to be still conscious of the fact that we like George said we live in a society like we can't just have lawlessness and for society to thrive people have to feel like they're safe. So I guess maybe not the slavery aspect, but the whatchamacallit, the other example where
Segregation.
yeah segregation.
I think segregation is a pretty good comparison, to be honest.
Yeah,
It's a pretty good comparison.
we've always
I
had
think
it separate
segregation.
Like,
bathrooms.
let's protect. I mean, they would have said let's protect white people from black people or whatever, but vice versa
Black
too.
people
Like,
needed to
oh,
be
but
protected
black
from white
people,
people.
yeah. So just keep it separate.
No, but my point is segregation is probably not the topic what we want to use because there's a lot of we could say a lot there.
On the topic of
Yeah, that's true. That's
the
true.
difference of like what women experience, I don't know at what point it was instituted in other countries, but I always remember there was a point in time where women couldn't vote, and someone could have made the case that, well, this is the culture. Women don't vote, so why would we change the constitution, or why would we make an amendment for that? That would make it
Someone
possible.
could have made that point, and you're right. It's not that it's. I mean, you're right that okay. We conclude that that was not good, and women should be able to have a voice in government. And yeah, we made that choice. We that choice was made, but
Yeah.
but I'm just saying to say that the cultural state is the way it is, and to say that okay, now maybe we need to jump to this other cultural point. I'm just saying you have to pose the question why is it actually wrong the way it is? Like what is wrong about what it is the way it is? Is there actually some need to change this specific point of culture? Because it may not be that there's anything particularly wrong about this point of culture. You have to pose that question as well. Not to say that it's always going to be the answer is always going to be yes, it's fine, or no, it's not fine. But you just have to say, okay, is this just something that we have culturally and it has a certain logic to it? Do we need to change this particular thing? And just have that question
That I
posed.
think that I think we can all get on board with, because at the end of the day, there isn't necessarily a need to just change things just for the sake of changing things. I think we do
Right.
agree with that. Fair enough. Fair enough. Um, I'm rolling. I'm rolling. See, I like that. I like when somebody's ready to have a little fire in them. Um, but is there
Oh,
any other?
also,
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
one.
You what? Did you mute yourself?
My bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this all plays into human sexuality as well. I'm not well versed enough to say, but it could be also that. I mean, even the state that we are now, as far as how free we are with nudity and things like this, how it influences people in the public space. You have children at public pools and all this stuff. I don't know how much that influences that type of thing as well. But as we said,
I mean,
there are cultures that have had it, so maybe
yeah,
it's
to that
not
point,
something that's unsustainable. I don't know.
I think the problem is more so the sexualization rather than the nudity itself. Um, so I think it could be argued the other way too, is like if it became more normalized in just a non-sexualized way, maybe it would be less of an issue. Like,
But could that hurt natural and I said natural? Could that
Yeah.
hurt sexual relations in the future though? Because if you kind of, I mean, I think this is the argument that probably was made all the time. But if you make this too open, could that hurt, normal, traditional sexual relationships once you become involved in the context of your relationship? Is it too normal to see everybody else naked? And is that not, does that take something away from the personal
gotcha.
experience? I don't know. But this is a
Yeah, I
question.
was thinking about that too earlier on, and I didn't necessarily plan on getting too down that rabbit hole. But I think we can also all acknowledge that if this were to fully like be enacted tomorrow, and more women were to start doing this, I think it would be kind of overlooked the mental change, the change in mental state that would have effects on society, like as it pertains to sexuality. And I don't know if anyone can like fully like diagnose or like theorize how that would manifest itself, but there definitely would be some changes throughout time, for sure.
I do kind of think Berlin is more I won't say progressive, but less less has less issues with like public I mean I guess this article kind of goes against that. But I always thought that like Berlin and just European countries in general um had less of an issue with this type of thing than the
That's
US
what
for
they've always
sure.
said. Yeah, that's what they've always said.
Well,
Yeah.
moral of the story is, uh, while in general the world, unless you're like in the Middle East, does generally move towards more progressive ideals, and even that can be debated. Progression. Um, we can't just fully ignore the ramification implications of some of these things. And I like the way you pose it, Weston. You should always be asking, does this change? Is this change like beneficial, or what is the point of this change? Um, you definitely don't want to be too. I think the biggest story, you definitely don't want to be on too skewed on any side of the spectrum. Like, you don't want to be completely immovable, but you also don't want to just be, let's just change everything and everybody be free and everyone can do what they want. Neither of those extremes get to a sustainable society, or generally even on individual um, even on an individual perspective. But let's say anything else, we can move on to the next topic. All right, getting progressively more serious. So salute to the New York Post. Well, not this, no, but it's been on these tangents. Maybe I don't know where everyone stands on these sides, so I don't know. I might be having to do a little battle. But anyway, so I don't know. This clip actually gained a little bit of virality to it. If you don't know, I don't know how common it is. It's probably still like 80% of maybe actually I skewed a lot, because what COVID did was like everything became remote. Like I didn't even know this until recently, but a lot more people are doing virtual doctor appointments. Do y'all know about this? Where like
Yeah, I've done it.
and it makes you've done it,
Yeah.
and it makes so much sense because a lot of times you go to the doctor. I mean, they gotta do some stuff like they look in your ear, look up your nose, but sometimes they just be asking you like the general questions, like do you smoke, do you drink, what's your sexual activity like? They ask all that. You don't need to be there. So this same thing is very much applied in court cases where they're doing a lot more Zoom court cases, Skype. You just don't have to be there. And obviously, this is translated a lot through work in general. So, although it looked like the judges are typically in their courtroom, so I salute to the judges for still having to get ready and be in their place. But the problem is, while I am a huge proponent or a huge fan of virtual, I mean, look, we're virtually podcasting, virtual, meetings and things of that nature. We don't all have to completely, get dressed and go through traffic and go through the commute just to do a half an hour meeting. That's just not necessary. We obviously understand some of the negative elements that come up as people are a bit more comfortable in their own homes. There's always the joke of like, if we all stand up right now, who's wearing full pants? And this is one of the ways. This is one of those times where it really manifested itself, and like this person's a bit too comfortable. But you can make the case that it's for good reason. So again, salute to New York Post. They posted the viral clip in question. Judge kicks woman out of an online court hearing after signing on late and making a sandwich? Question mark. Go ahead and play that, Ace. You have to turn the volume, it sounds like. And also, apologies to the listeners, or the watchers of the choppiness of the video.
Asia who?
Outer Bridge.
And why are you so late?
Because I have a paper right here that shows my court started at 1 o'clock, but then when I called, right here, if you can look.
I don't see 1 o'clock. It looks like I saw 9 a.m.
I had 1 o'clock on one of those papers.
You just showed me a paper, Miss Outerbridge.
Yes, I did. Right. So when I called,
no, we can't talk at the same time.
Well, I apologize for being late. Excuse me.
Stop.
You asked me a question. I'm just trying to answer it.
I know. Put whatever you're trying to prepare down.
I'm trying to see my daughter.
Get your coat. You gotta put your properly dressed on. I
am properly dressed. I have on a t-shirt. I am properly dressed.
Is that a robe?
It's the problem, sir. I'm not even doing that to you. Ask me a question. I'm answering. My daughter is sick. I had to keep her home from school. I'm just trying to feed her. That's it.
Understandable, but you're in court.
Miss Outerbridge, I'm sorry that your daughter is sick. But again, you're in court, okay? And we're going to treat it as such. I'm
properly dressed. I have on clothes. I have on clothes.
Bye, Miss Outerbridge.
I have on clothes.
To be fair, you know me, I always look for the fairness in things. Technically, what do judges wear? The judge's robe. Come on.
I'm a son. Come on.
But obviously, like the post mentions, this judge was not happy with this young sister in question at a home setting, and supposed to be in literal court, but they're just going on about their day. And I'm pretty sure when I looked at a couple comments about this, it was a lot of on the judge's side, which I think a lot of people would be. And I will say I will add one kind of thing that I personally kind of think about this before we get into what y'all think. I will say a lot of the problem here, even more so than because it's virtual or because people are late or they're doing extra things when they're in court. I think people, I don't know. In my mind, when it pertains to like judges in court, and maybe I'm the odd one here, I have this like perception that like there should be a high level of respect in like generally understanding of the authority. And I understand like in the dynamic of like when you're on a conference call that obviously we've experienced it sometimes, like people can talk over one another, but I'm one of those people that are like, if someone not that I think anyone's more important than me, but if someone in a judge position is speaking, I'm just let them fully speak before I even interject. So I think that's also kind of the perception. Like some people don't necessarily have the perception of like authority and respect and how that should look, but that's just my 2 cents on the matter. But what about y'all? What do y'all think of this interaction? Do you think the judge was completely justified in their frustrations that this person is not prepared and basically doing their own thing while they're supposed to be while they're not actually physically there, they are indeed in court? Or is there anyone amongst us going to give this sister or a person in this position a little grace? Come on, we all got things we have to take care of at home. We all got sick. Well, we don't have kids, but we can all imagine what it's like when you got a stressful, sick kid. You got your own stress in life, so you're not thinking about like putting on a whole suit and tie to do a virtual court session. Come on, is anyone amongst here of us gonna give some grace? I feel as if anyone, you, Wes, maybe I'm profiling, but come on, you can give us some grace? What do you think?
She annoyed me. I No, I don't know. She didn't play her cards right. It's not the fact that she was late. It's not the fact that she had a sick daughter. It's not the fact that she wanted to make her daughter food. It's the fact that in all these things, she had no respect for the courtroom. Like no respect for the judge, no respect for the courtroom. She could have had like, and the other thing about it is too, like you're somewhat at the mercy of the judge in whatever decision is being made. Like you should at least make it or show that you have some respect for the judge and his decision. Like, and so okay, she was late. That's the first thing that against her. She should come and be like, "I'm really sorry, I'm late. I made a mistake." No. Just dead that and why you gave me a paper and it said, and she didn't even have the right paper. Like it said 9 a.m. Like what? It was bad. It was just all bad, and she didn't have. I think it was just the fact. For me, it was just the fact that her attitude was all messed up. Like I think all these things can be somewhat forgiven, but everything together. Plus, then she was in a robe and a night robe or a house robe, if you will. It just all added up to she wasn't taking it seriously. That's the thing. Like her whole demeanor was that she didn't take it seriously, and it just doesn't make sense, especially in the position that she's in. Like, for some reason she's in court. You gotta do better. You gotta do better.
One little bit, like going back to the cultural thing. In some cultures, wearing a t-shirt and some sweats and a robe is a bit more professional than.
And to come back to a previous conversation that we had, I think there are times where you should change the way that you dress in order to respect the situation, respect the people involved, and make the thing seem like it's not just every other day. I'm not just rolling out of bed.
All right.
And some situations deserve that. That's all I'm gonna say on that.
All right. We'll keep it there. Jeez. Okay. What about you, Ghost? Do you think the judge is completely justified in their frustrations, or do you think this person in this position could have been given a bit more grace? If you were that judge, would you would you be a little bit more merciful? Would you be a bit more understanding that this person has a lot of stress going on in their life, and you know, they're just trying to fumble by and get through?
No. To be honest, I think the judge handled it very well because a lot of judges would not have had the understanding tone to start, and then it just kind of de-escalated. But like the number one rule is like you gotta respect the judge. Like even if like Wes said, you're late. It's not great, but whatever. Like you're
Well, they would make the case.
even
They could make the case. They might make the case they weren't being disrespectful.
they were 100%. Like the biggest thing was talking over the judge. Like for a quick
I would just
anecdotal.
She said I was just answering their question. You asked me a question,
No,
sir. Let me answer.
No. For a quick anecdotal story, I was in court a few months ago for a somewhat minor demeanor, but I was there and just sitting through all the previous cases before me, and 9 out of 10 people knew what to do. The judge asks you a question, says something, you say, yes, Your Honor. He says another thing, you say, yes, Your Honor. If he asks you a question, you get into more detail. And then someone had the brilliant idea of trying to like counter at the judge. The judge said something. He said, well, no, Your Honor, blah, blah, blah. And then the judge was responding that he tried to interrupt and cut him off. And it's like, that is the number one thing you absolutely do not do. And the judge went on a whole tangent, like, and kind of said that. It's like, when I'm saying something, you be quiet and listen. That's the number one rule. That's really all you got to do, because the judge wants to be respected. Like, a lot of people want to be respected, and they're in a position where they need to be respected because they have authority over your future in many respects. So even if you don't like it, you gotta suck it up and not not be disrespectful. That's what it boils down to. And talking over the judge and not showing any type of urgency or apologeticness that, yeah, you are late, you're not wearing typical attire, you're making a sandwich in the background, like you're not treating this with the care that the situation deserves, and that boils down to disrespect. So it's really just like, I don't know what you got going on, and sounds like you were dealing with some stuff with a kid and all that, which is understandable, but just don't be stupid. Like, be apologetic. If you're in the wrong, you gotta be the one to suck up and be like, yeah, I screwed up. How do I fix it? That's really what it boils down to. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to be in a good position.
Fair enough. Damn it, man. All right, Ace, we got 2 out of 3 siding with the judge. Hopefully you can come in. Come on now, somebody. Are you rolling with the judge? Do you think they were completely justified in their like the way they conducted that situation? Or would you say that a little bit more grace could have been extended to that sister, given their circumstances? You know, you can tell they're stressed out, got sick kids, just trying to make them a sandwich, just trying to, you know, get through life, maintain. They look like they don't have a lot of help in their life, quote unquote.
No more grace. She got all the grace she could have possibly gotten if she was just a little bit more respectful. I know the judge would have allowed her to do whatever she needed to do, plead her case or whatever. She ruined it for herself. Like, all comes back down to the disrespect or lack of respect.
I got something for you. Perhaps she was never told how to behave in this type of situation.
Of course.
However, she's a grown.
I don't think anyone's taught how to act.
No, but I'm saying that might be what she said.
Learn.
After this situation,
your parents show you how to
exactly.
act in that situation by teaching you how to act towards them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But this would be the only excuse that she probably could try to pull. It was like, oh, I didn't know it was like that. But at the end of the day, she's a grown woman, and that doesn't even.
You don't watch TV at all? Like, come on.
They definitely watch a lot of TV. I don't know. I can
you watch a court show, like, you know, like everybody knows at this point. Once you're an adult, at the very least, you know.
All right. I didn't want to do this, but it'll give me a chance to clear up something, a minor misspeak that I said before. And this is primarily directed at you, Wes. Not that I'm trying to combat you primarily today. So, not too long ago, you asked us, do we watch a certain movie? And that certain movie was a Tyler Perry movie. And
Yep.
when I heard that, I'm like, why would I watch a Tyler Perry movie? But to my surprise, because if anybody that has a significant other knows, sometimes they'll want to watch something, and you being the loving significant other you are, you'll be like, okay, what's going on? This is background noise at the end of the day. And if you're, how depending on how invested you are in it, you might not even know the title. So long story short, I may have or may not have watched that movie that you mentioned. Salute to Taraji P. Henson. Sorry, salute to Taraji. Salute to Tiana Taylor. And when I was going through this list recently last night, I was thinking to myself, it's crazy how at the end of the day, everybody has sympathy for Taraji. I'm spoiling this movie. Listen, all the men out there, you're not going to watch the movie. I don't care. I'm sorry. Everyone at the end of the day has sympathy for Taraji having a stressful day, trying to take care of their sick daughter, dealing with very harsh legal precedents. Everyone has sympathy for Taraji. But now we see a real world example of what a sister having a bad day that's probably raising a child predominantly on her own, that's dealing with, they're in a situation where they could handle it better, but because they're stressed out and their stress is causing them to have like damn near mental anxiety, and they don't know how to properly manage themselves in certain contexts, certain situations. Everyone has sympathy for Tiana Taylor was being the bank teller. You remember that scene? The bank teller was so nice to Taraji, although Taraji had to wave a gun at them But anyway, how do you respond? Just because it's a Hollywood movie magic, now we have sympathy for this distressed single mom that's going through it. But when it's real life and a woman's in court and she's trying to take care of her sick child and she made a mistake at what time to hop on, and maybe she doesn't have, this woman might not even own professional attire. We don't know her. We don't know their situation.
Literally, the entire point that we're making is that the attire, the circumstances don't really matter. Like, there would have been a lenience towards the circumstances situation if she had respect, which she didn't. That's like the whole thing.
Also, I would like to hear Wes, combat this from the perspective of the film.
So, I don't believe that Taraji would have reacted the same way for one reason, and that is the people who were somewhat antagonizing her throughout her daily life, with the exception of the school, the teachers at the school, whatever. Without getting into too much detail, they were fairly disagreeable and unforgiving. This judge was very forgiving to talk to her as long as he did. Now, if in fact she had reacted, yes, but everything that he was saying, he didn't disqualify her from continuing, or he didn't tell her to leave until the point where he realized, all right, you're giving me too much lip. And okay, even if it had happened with Taraji, and it was really the final straw in the string of a really sad, unfortunate series of events, the point is that she was undone and she was mentally not all there at the end of the situation. So yes, maybe this woman was mentally undone. She didn't seem as flustered as Taraji was. She didn't seem as pressed as Taraji was. And she didn't even seem as respectful. Taraji got to the point of begging her boss and whatever at certain points. And this woman wasn't begging for anything. She was trying to talk over. She was being very disrespectful. But if she had gotten to that point, okay, fine. She's literally mentally undone. So at that point, if somebody reacts and doesn't know the context of the situation, it's not that necessarily that person's fault. They don't know the context of the situation. We don't have more context. So we can't be sympathetic toward this woman because all we see is what we see. It's the entire context that brings the entire story. You can't just cherry pick the situation and say, "Oh no, wow, this is apples to apples." No, it's not apples to apples.
Yeah, obviously you're right. Yeah, so what? Anyway. all that means to me is I might follow up with this story and don't let me come back on another podcast and we find out this woman got mad kids, this woman has all type of mental disabilities and she's just getting by. Y'all be ready to do some take backs.
I ain't gonna take nothing back, bro.
No,
Like,
no.
Yeah, I
Because
don't see a universe.
there's
in
nothing
which
because
changes.
at the end of the day, as I said, the judge was very respectful. No, none of the I don't think any of the people in that situation, like I said, with the exception of the teachers, were actually that respectful to her in the movie. Like they might have said, or anybody who says, I see you, but at the end of the day, I can't do anything for you right now. It's not necessarily their fault. But if they're saying, nah, I don't want to hear anything you got to say, don't talk to me. Okay, fine. Then it's on them. But I don't think the judge was in that case. He was like, all right, what is going on? This person's late. This person, okay, now the person's trying to make a sandwich. What is going on? They got a house robe on. Like, it's too much. It's too much.
Fair enough. Apologies to the sister, but yeah, it's basically 4-0. You were out of line. Yeah, I don't. Like I said, I don't think these things are it's one of those things. I don't think your parents will ever teach you, hey, when you're in court, you have to act a certain way. I think it is reflective, like when y'all mentioned that when you just naturally learn how you should interact and how much respect you should give towards authority figures. I think that's what puts you in a place where you kind of are more. You'll be more in line of what you should conduct yourself in these spaces. So that's why, obviously, like the panel here, there's not a lot of additional grace that can be extended to this sister or a person like her in that position.
I think the
But
other problem is, like you said, when people get on video calls as opposed to being in person, they think it's all fun and games.
yeah,
But in reality, like the video call, I think it's a kind of a mental thing. It's like you have to expect that, especially if it's a government institution or a school or whatever. You have to expect that they're going to treat the video conference the same way that they would treat an in-person interaction. In the same, so you can't just say, I'm on the phone and let me hang up. I'm gonna take this quick video call with the
yeah.
governor or with this quick video call with the judge and I'll be back. No, it's not just hop off and hop on and do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the biggest story. Like when you're on these video calls with with court related thing with your doctors, like don't just you're not just on the phone with your friends. Like in certain respects, I actually I don't know if I mentioned this, but if I have a meeting at work, a virtual meeting, even if I don't plan to be like doing a whole lot of talking, I'm putting on like a collared shirt. Like I'm gonna be somewhat presentable. And maybe that's just my mentality as someone that's worked in these spaces. But you got to remain presentable when you're in some of these spaces, and you have to have the appropriate amount of decorum and respect for the respective parties. But yeah, unless there's anything else, we can move on to the next topic. All right. How do I even intro this? Well, salute to Breakfast Club. I think that's easy. I'll even say salute to Weezy and Mandii. Definitely a couple of sisters that are super influential in the podcast space. Even though some of their materials are kind of contrary to the be warned to be filled culture around here, but we're not here to criticize them. We're here to deep dive on this topic, which admittedly is kind of an Aggie. You know, we like to try to have at least some higher level of honest, interesting conversations, but you know, we'll roll around in the mud for every now and then. The internet mud, I'll say. So, like I said, salute to Weezy and Mandii. They were on the Breakfast Club recently, and you know, they were talking about all things modern day relationship and relationship dynamic wise. And also, they were discussing a lot of things surrounding the Diddy trial, and they bumped into an interesting conversation of, or a topic of discussion of, you attracting what you deserve. With the quote even by Mandii, you are in the relationship that you deserve. Pardon me. Let's hear what Sister has to say, and see if you guys agree.
Think like, and this is gonna sound bad, I do think everyone is with who they deserve.
What do you mean?
If you're with someone who isn't that great to you, it's because you don't believe you deserve better.
Ooh.
And so,
Mandii.
and I've been talking to this a lot with so I had this recent conversation. I went to Malta and I'm sitting around a group of women and we're talking about the Diddy trial. And what happens is these women start sharing all of these abusive relationships that they were in. And they talk about how they didn't feel safe even to share with the men in their lives because the men in their lives were like, well, if he touch you, if he do this, I'm going to jail because I'm going to come. And so I shared this story online and it was so sad how many men were like, yeah, but then we step in and they stay. So then what? And I'm just like, whoa. Basically even saying like, how do you know you stayed too long? Everyone in certain relationships, I feel like they deserve it because it's like, if you don't want better for yourself,
Pause it.
no one can.
I almost forgot this is the Breakfast Club. At the end of the day, gotta make sure we got avoid that copyright. So, as I mentioned, they're kind of breaking down this discussion of people being in situations that they deserve. And, you know, before I give my full take or hear y'all full take as it pertains to this type of dynamic, I will say I am on record with some, a similar notion of like, not just in relationships, but a lot of things in life. People do typically get what they deserve. More so like you reap what you sow type of thing. But I think to some extent, I don't know, I'm interested to know what you guys' full thoughts on it. But to some extent, I think we all generally subscribe to some level of your actions or how you conduct your life will result in what happens to you. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Keep playing.
No one can lead you out of it.
It's
You could take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it. And so I do think that if you're in a bad relationship or not, you don't feel like you deserve more. You're in a relationship you deserve. And so like literally in the book, I talk about being like, oh, girl, you ain't have no self-worth for yourself. Oh, you was desperate. Oh, you were insecure. And I think it takes a lot of time for women to say those words about themselves. And so until you're able to do that, the person you're with is probably more of a reflection of who you are.
We could do it for our friends. Your homegirl's in a bad relationship. Why are you accepting that? Meanwhile, we 7 texts deep with no reply. For some reason, we can help everybody but ourselves. And for me, I've always wanted love in a relationship that was true. So what was happening was in my 20s, I was kind of just figuring it out. Like, oh, well, this is a good guy. I gotta see. He's got a great job. Oh, he's handsome, or he's this, or my mom likes him. I'd hold on to this thing that would make everything okay. It's like when you don't want to leave a job. You find something about this job that's decent, even though
you gotta pay. Bills gonna keep coming.
Right. And I think that was what made my favorite chapter of mine. It fluctuates, but when I read the love chapter back, the biggest thing about finding love for me today is like, oh,
yeah, it's good as long as I remember. So yeah, they're basically just kind of getting into. It seems like they both are consistent in this view of, especially as it pertains to relationships, like your general current mental and headspace is going to be reflective of the type of partner you bump into, which again kind of meshes with the train of thought of you get what you deserve, but. Seems like even some people in the comments are already ready to kind of either disagree or they don't like the messengers. One of the two. It's Instagram, so I can't even tell how much of the clip is left. But I guess just play a little bit more of it. I don't want to watch the whole entire interview. If you're interested, go watch Salute to Breakfast Club. Go watch the full interview if you're interested to hear more. But play a little bit more of this.
Well, it wasn't no bullshit healed. I didn't go on a solo vacation and find myself. Like, it really was, I made space for him in my life. I accepted flaws about myself that I fixed. I created the life that I wanted to have with a partner. I also saw a lot of love in other people. And so the problem sometimes with us is like, we're a product of what we're surrounded by. Like, you're going to compare your ain't shit nigga to your homegirl. Oh, well, he got 4 months. My man don't do that. And you start comparing, and it's the thief of joy because you'll literally be happier if you release yourself from that man.
Fair enough. You know what sucks? Before we get into it, a lot of these conversations. This is why I even kind of avoid some of the conversation on this platform. A lot of these conversations, while they have, I like to assume with people, relatively like purer intentions of like they're just kind of getting their thoughts out, getting what's on their heart, getting on their chest out, and kind of delving into some of the complexities of like some of these aspects of like relationships. I can just, when I hear some of these things, I just know for a fact they're feeding into like the cultural wars between men and women. when we have some discussions of like how sometimes you need to like heal yourself and get your ain't shit N-word, like that doesn't feed well into like creating a society or a community where we're more enthralled to be with one another. But that's a whole other thing.
I don't necessarily get that from this. But
I'm just
it's
telling
just
you.
an offhand comment. But yeah, like you're
I'm
right.
just telling
like they just
I'm
make
just-
offhand comments like this.
Yeah, I'm just telling you what I'm not saying the entire conversation.
I got what you're saying. Yeah,
it just does.
It does feed into the general conversation. Yeah, I got what you're saying.
Anyway, so yeah, that's the discussion that they were having in general. And again, I think while we all subscribe to this line of thought in some levels, I'm interested to know specifically or in particularly as it pertains to the relationships that people fall into or end up in. Do you think that is reflective of you are what you attract, or you get what you deserve? And especially in the context of like people that are in relationships that are definitely looking more negative than positive. You think you're getting what they deserve? We'll start with you, Ace. What do you think?
The like the initial statement of you are in the relationship you deserve, I think I had an initial problem with that, but the explanation helped to clear it up to where I don't necessarily have much of a problem with it anymore. But it's like that statement is different from you don't believe that you deserve better. Like I don't think those are equivalent because the first one feels almost like too dismissive, and there's no like encouragement or anything in it. It's just like you're in a relationship you deserve it, and that's it. Like, so somebody that's in an abusive relationship, well, they deserve that. I don't think you can say that for necessarily anybody that's in an abusive relationship, that they deserve to be abused. But at the same time, you can certainly say that you know, as an outsider who is seeing that abuse and trying to help the person, and they're not seeing it for themselves, or they're not believing in their own worth, or whatever issues that are causing them to stay in that relationship. I certainly think it's a valid thing to say to them that you don't believe you deserve better, and that's why you either keep getting into relationships like this, or you continue to stay in this relationship, more so as a like hopefully as a wake up call to them, or something that, if not immediately, something that they can eventually gets through to them. So yeah, I overall I agree with the sentiment of the conversation. It's just that one statement of you're in the relationship that you deserve. Like everybody's in the relationship that they deserve. I think it's just too dismissive, and not like, I don't know, not helpful in any way, and not true in every way either. Um, I also like the cultural point about or being a product of what you see as well, and like comparing to others. I thought that was a good point too. So, but yeah, that's my general thoughts.
Yeah, I picked up on that thing too, at part two. Although it's interesting because I think even though oftentimes comparison does lead you down to a unproductive path, especially when you're like coveting or having this weird like justification for why things are acceptable, I will say I do think a benchmark for what a lot of people's ideal or healthy relationship is probably is like, yeah, hopefully your parents, but if not, typically your grandparents. So I do
Hmm.
think one is almost unavoidable, and two, it can almost be beneficial because, I mean, I think a lot of us would like relationships similar to like our grandparents or some old couple in our lives. Um, and so
I
it
mean,
might.
some people don't even have that. Like, I mean, on one side we had a good example, on one side we didn't. So
Oh,
I'm
I'm not
just
talking about.
speaking personally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not talking about like all of us in particular. I'm just saying like while in general, I think you should never like look at your. Although I mean, I don't want to get parasocial or whatever they call, however they call it, but I don't know. I mean, obviously we don't know the in and outs of one another, but I would like to think that, especially like I'm taking some people that are married now. Maybe I'll go to you next, Wes. But like, I would like to think like if I can have a healthy relationship, and especially from the perspective of somebody that or people that really had to go through a good amount of hoops to make things work and to continue to make things work. I would like if my relationship could look in some form or fashion like my communities. I don't think that's a wholly negative thing, but I guess it would be. I guess it would be a start. I guess it would be negative if like I start looking at like, dang, why don't my significant other do what the rest of the significant other is doing? I guess that's where it kind of gets negative. Anyway,
Or your grandparents, you could say the same thing too. So the comparison could be good and bad in any way you look at it. But what was I gonna say about the grandparents thing? I lost my train of thought. So I'm sorry. If you could go to somebody else.
my apologies.
No,
Um,
it's not. It's not you.
um, yeah, no, there's definitely in the midst of the conversation, there are definitely a lot of extra points that come out. But fair enough. Yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts, Wes. What do you think of? I guess do you subscribe to the saying, the notion that people are in the relationships that they deserve?
Um, I don't know. The first time I read it, I thought I agreed, and then I thought I didn't agree. But either way, um, it seems kind of clickbaity the way that it's phrased, and it seems like she latched onto a concept and kind of tried to unfold it in a way that captivates the people who are listening.
That's
Also
what good
seems a
podcasters
little,
do. Put a little sauce on it.
yeah, yeah, but it also seems a little bit fake deep. But either way, I think it's just a question of language. You are in the relationship that you feel you deserve, or the relationship that you deserve based on your self-esteem. And I get that. I get that concept, and it's valid, except for the fact that if you were to, let's say, just see the headline or not understand what she was talking about, like the abusive relationships, like you could be um yeah, it could seem dismissive, or it could lead you to think, oh well, if I'm in this relation, I mean, depending on how much stock you put in people like this, you'd be like, oh, I guess if I'm in this relationship, that this is all I can get, this is the best I can do, and you stay with an abusive person or whatever, which would be a negative thing. um But also, if you do, even if you do understand a little bit more, there's also the idea of you being deceived doesn't necessarily come into the equation. It's like there are people who straight up deceive the person that they want to be with up until a certain point. Then after that point, they take the mask off and they're whoever they really are. And at that point, you didn't necessarily deserve to be in the situation you're in. You got deceived, like, and you can't say, "Oh, I should have known," or sometimes. All right, I mean, you can't really blame yourself all that much
I will
for
say
thinking that this person
that's
was gonna land.
that's not necessarily wholly common for someone to
True, but it does happen.
for someone to like be really good at be a really good deceiver. I'll say that. Like obviously, we've all heard of the situation where like you're talking to a guy for a while, and then one day he just randomly, oh yeah, I gotta go see my 5 kids. Like, after
Yeah,
5 months.
exactly. Hiding children. That's one of the examples I was thinking of. Like exactly, like things
But
like this.
but I'm just saying like that's not necessarily a norm to where like the average person isn't like intentionally like or not even intentionally they're not a really good deceiver. Like if you pay attention and you'll be able to spot these things.
I suppose, but it's I should just say it's less on the person and how they view themselves
Yeah.
than it might seem based on this conversation. But yeah, I don't really think I have too much more to say on that. Yeah, I think the comparison comments that y'all made were good, and I pretty much agree. It can be good to have a baseline, but it can also be bad to think that everything that in your what you got going on has to be like somebody else, or to think that I'm okay because somebody else is worse. Like it's all relative, but you got to be careful too.
Yeah. Then what about yourself, Ghost? Do you have any hot takes regarding this? Do you generally subscribe to people end up with people that they deserve?
No hot takes. I'm pretty much more or less in line with what you guys already reiterated. The statement that people end up with who they deserve, I 100% don't agree with that just as a blanket statement, but I think the way they qualified it and the way they explained it made a lot of sense. It's just you really can't like what's brought up like abusive relationships. That's one you can't say anyone deserves that. I think if there's a pattern of you getting with a certain type of person that has negative traits that you either ignore or you keep seeing in them, like there's a common thread where if it's something where you're looking for something subconsciously where you don't feel you deserve someone better, or you're just refusing to uh, see a pattern in the type of people you're pursuing. I think there's definitely a lot of truth to that. And instead of saying that you deserve that type of person, it's more so like you're kind of looking for them in a way, and that's where it becomes like how you get out of that negative mindset. So there's definitely truth to that. But in some cases it's like you kind of get unlucky. Like you think someone's a good person, you do your vetting process, and
A lot of people don't
it
be doing
turns out like
the strict vetting that they should do.
yeah, that is another thing. Sometimes people are a little too anxious to get in a relationship, and you'll overlook negative traits that kind of have been there from the beginning, and it just isn't apparent until you're like you're really looking for them. You kind of delude yourself. That's definitely a thing, but in some cases it's like you're not always going to run into a master manipulator, but like people in general, people
Unless you
hide
run into Drake.
like people hide stuff about themselves. It's just kind of human nature, is that until you get to really know the person, and it's like they're not even actively trying to hide certain personality that they have, but it's sometimes again you just get unlucky. Like someone could just be a bad person and you don't see it until you really get to know them deeply, and it's like it happens. And I'm not going to say that someone deserves to be in that position just because again they got unlucky. And there's a line between bad luck and consciously or subconsciously looking out for a certain characteristic or trait, and it becomes a thing with like everyone that you're seeing. That's a different thing than just randomly running into a bad person. It happens, but in general, again, I don't like the clickbait title and all that, but I think the way they explained it was pretty valid.
Yeah, I think we can all pretty easily identify that. You gotta throw out the what I call like the Kanye West line, the Kanye West version of your of what you're trying to iterate. But a lot of times, if you kind of delve deep and listen to their actual breakdown of some of these ideals, it makes a bit more sense. Maybe you might not be fully on board, but like I said, a bit more sense. Yeah, in general, I would say as it pertains to relationships, I think one of the biggest moral stories, you do have to be conscious of what you deem acceptable in your according to your standards or what you particularly find comfortable in life. You have to be mindful of comparisons when you're making comparisons, and you have to be diligent and do a certain level of vetting. Um, so you don't necessarily fall for some of these okey dokes. But yeah, you definitely, because the thing that comes to my mind is that if you do heavily lean in like all these things are happening because I deserve it, I feel as if there's a world in which that can manifest into like a negative perception of yourself. But maybe I'm kind of digging into that.
No, yeah, that's why you needed the nuance. Essentially, it is know that you deserve better or think differently so that you're in a relationship that you actually want that's better for you.
Mm-hmm.
As in change what you deserve essentially.
Yeah.
By how you think of yourself.
So yeah. While some of it does get a bit repetitive, like we hear these conversations on social media a lot, I think it can be beneficial to continually build one's overarching ideals as it pertains to relationships. It's good to hear different perspectives. Basically, what I'm trying to say. This is why you would stop and listen to stoners like us. But unless there's anything else, we can move on to the next topic. And speaking of which, let me actually add a bit more to that. So let me switch just for a second. Oop, that kind of looks jacked up. Let me go here. What did I do? I don't know if that is there a link there already, Ace? If there's not, pull that up.
No.
And while I'm dropping links.
Is that an AI image or what?
It's definitely an AI image. I mean, I want to say people are too lazy to find just a real photo, but maybe AI is seen as more ethical. You don't want to just you don't want to just use a random person's likeness.
They don't want, yeah. Exactly.
That's what stock photos are for.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. I would have got a funny picture. I would have got the funniest stock photo you could find.
Stock photos aren't always free.
That's true. That's true.
And a lot of times they'll have the watermark on them.
Mm-hmm. You gotta buy those for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll drop that there for a second later. Okay, so let me go back here. What is with the ads? Holy moly.
It's a whole video. What's going on? Goodness gracious.
Okay, so let me go back here. pull this up a bit. Okay. Nice. Okay, sorry for the interruption, or the intermission rather. Okay, so even like sorry for something light. We'll try even ending with something light or funny, in my opinion. IMO. So salute to Dextero. They posted this. Oh, their names are jacked up. They posted this very interesting article. I don't know if anyone's heard about this, and it almost doesn't seem real, but I mean, when you hear about where it's happening, Japan is always kind of I don't know if they're ahead of the curve, but they're on some interesting curves. So this article reads: you can now rent a Japanese grandma who will cook for you and do housework. Yes, you read that right. So I'll just go through some of this article. It's actually relatively short. Japan's latest viral trend isn't high-tech or anime themed. It's your grandma, literally. A growing number of Japanese residents are renting senior women for everything from home-cooked meals to emotional support, thanks to a unique service called Oshi-chan. Wait, sorry.
Obachan. Come on, you watch anime.
My Japanese, I'm working on it. For 3,000 yen, about 20 USD, which is crazy, per hour, plus a flat rate of 3,000 yen travel fee, clients are matched with women aged 60 to 94 who will help with tasks that only grandmas do best. This includes cooking lessons, housework, babysitting, and even stepping in as a supportive figure during difficult life moments. According to Japanese outlet Sora News 24, some clients have even asked for help breaking up with a partner or having a grandma present while coming out to their parents.
The family.
Oh, yeah, coming out to their family. The service currently boasts a roster of around 100 grandmas, offering a mix of life experience, compassion, and good old-fashioned domestic skills. The women are a part of a broad effort by Client Partners, a company founded in 2011 that focuses on providing women-only handyman services across Japan. Okay, Obachan site highlights an incredible variety of requests. Penmanship for formal letters, dispute mediation, and simply having someone to talk to. Okay, so basically, this service is kind of stepping into the realm of like all encompass human support services. Japan's aging population, seniors now make up of nearly 1/3 of the country, which means services like these are not only innovative but necessary. Roughly 25% of seniors are still working, and Abachan gives many a way to stay active and connected. It's grandma on demand. She might even fix your love life. So, I mean, there you have it. We are officially in the day and age where you can basically on demand order fast food, alcohol, drugs, and even an elderly person. We're almost in the future. Yeah, Back to the Future was like without the hoverboards. Anyway, I don't know if there's any further to deep dive on this. I guess it's just a baseline. Is anyone rocking with this service? Oh man. What is like the thought-provoking question that you can come from this? Is this like does this feel dystopian to anyone, or are you fully on board with the idea of somebody doing a grandma rental? Why isn't it grandma and grandpa rental services? I don't know about any of the listeners, but I had such a dope grandpa. Man, that was a reliable individual. I don't know how I would feel if he was going out and helping out random stoners, but yeah. Does this feel kind of like we're in a weird future to y'all, or is this damn near normal to y'all? We'll start with you, Ghost. What do you think?
It is most certainly weird, but I'm not super mad at it. I suppose, like, if you're at a deficit for familial affection and you're you're just feeling lonely, I guess. Like I'm I'm not gonna like look at you super crazy if you hired a grandma on demand to like listen to you vent and cook meals for you for a couple hours a day. It's definitely weird, but it's not super crazy, I guess. And on the flip side, there's probably like elderly people that are lonely in some aspects, and like I don't in general, just speaking of the grandparents that I've had, like they like to provide for grandchildren and, and family members and stuff like that. It makes them happy. So on from their perspective, I mean, if they were to like make a little money and also bring some joy into someone else's life, I'm sure it would be fulfilling for them. So I'm not like super mad at it, I guess. Like I wouldn't do this myself, but
You said you
I
would?
can see said I would not do it myself, but I could see the market or the appeal, I suppose.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that. The love and provisioning that old people like to dole out. Like for myself, I do like to be like a service to people around me, in some regards. But it's interesting to see how you get to a certain age where you're just ready and willing. Like you go to your grandma's house and they just want to give you stuff. Like it just hey, take some tea. Like, oh, do you want some fruit? I grew this tomato. Do you want you? Let me pack you up. Like I didn't come here to get groceries. I just came here to see you. But yeah, they definitely have a lot of love to dole out. So it definitely in a lot of ways probably like I don't think anyone's grandma's probably out there doing slave labor. They probably definitely want to do this, so that is a thing to note. Um, what about you, Ace? And I kind of like the way Ghost kind of responded. One, do you think this is weird, dystopian, or do you think it's normal? And two, or yes, two, how would you feel if one of your associates, friends, peers came to you and said, "Yeah, I'm thinking about using this service. What do you think?" And finally, would you use this rent a grandma service?
Uh, yeah, I don't think it's weird at all. Um, and I'm 100% on board. I actually think this story is pretty freaking heartwarming to me. I
Aw,
don't see anything wrong with it. Like, just yeah, grandma's helping people out with whatever daily tasks they have, or um, these interfamilial familial relationship things too. Like, I don't see a negative to it at all. The only thing is
oh, I can
you
give you a negative.
briefly you joked about not making sure it's not slave labor. Of course, you don't want the elders doing this not under their free will, but assuming it's a regular job and it's something that they want to do, which I'm sure it is. Yeah, I don't see the negative, but go ahead and throw something.
Obviously, the safe assumption is a lot of for a person that would invoke this type of service, they're probably in a situation in life where, God forbid, but we all have older loved ones that have passed. So either they are passed, they have loved ones that's passed away, and or a lot of people travel and move to distant lands away from their grandparents, so they can't necessarily interact with them the way they would. But what if you had somebody that had a fully functioning grandma or grandpa, but because they are too modern day coded, that they would rather invoke this service instead of go interact with their own family?
I mean, I could see that being problematic. What do you mean by modern day coded though? Like you just like they're
I don't like
more
to use
likely
language
to
that
use this service?
I don't like to use language that like is like negative towards like newer generations. But like I think we all understand that newer generations, they're more apt to it's just like the same train of thought. Like a younger person is more comfortable with like talking to somebody online and talking with somebody IRL. Like
I don't think that plays in here because, I mean, for one, they would have to pay for it, which I think that alone would discourage them from just substituting in
I mean, it's $20, dog.
anything, dog. Like the world is expensive. I mean, sure,
Yeah,
we're
but yeah, but
richer,
people, yeah,
richer
but
young folk.
people are, especially younger people, are spending a whole bunch of money on like conveniences or quote unquote conveniences, like getting their stuff delivered. So, if for $20 to get food and uh,
But your grandma is free. Like, why would you not?
because
Like,
you have
I
to
don't see
interact with
any
them, they're
inherent.
gonna ask you. They're gonna ask you, oh, so how's your love life? Oh, when are you gonna have children?
I mean, apparently these grandmas aren't silent either. I mean, it's probably more of a thing where you have to or you would tell them, whatever you want to whatever whatever services you're looking for as opposed to just a
Don't
regular
bring up my
grandparent would
level
come
love
out
life
and
because I ain't got one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, maybe that is would be a demotivator.
You're paid
Um
for the censorship. That's hilarious.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I'm just
But
saying. I don't think it's unfathomable to imagine that somebody would make use of this service, um, but in the same vein, actively avoids building a close relationship with their own community, their own family.
I mean maybe, but I feel like these grandmas they would probably encourage it too at the same time.
Why you calling me? Where's your grandma? Yeah,
uh,
100%.
yeah, you're
100%.
not
Not
wrong.
outright, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean they help you with your interpersonal matters, so they definitely would probably push you, give you that type of advice.
Yeah.
Like, you know what's crazy? I always talk about how like a lot of younger folks are always looking for like the answers to these problems, like like what do I need to do to be in a healthy relationship? Like, yeah, how do I like build friends? And I would say like they should go to people who they admire or respect in a lot of regards, and a lot of times it is our older people in our communities and our families. But for some reason, a lot of times people don't talk to their grandparents or older folks. So this might create an environment in which more people get the answers they're looking for because you're actually talking to older folks now. And last but not least, Wes, what do you think of this service? You think it's weird, dystopian, or you think it's par for the course of where we are in this day and age? How would you respond if one of your homies hit you up and be like, "I'm thinking about using the service," or "I have used the service," and would you make use of the Rent a Grandma's service?
No, it's not weird. Uh, it's not
Okay, three
weird.
for three.
And I don't think I would look at anybody weird for using it because in a lot of ways it sounds like it would be like like a maid service a
Right.
little bit, but also someone that you could use for to talk to and stuff too. So it's not
Yeah,
yeah, it's not weird. I think
Maze ain't like talking to you and giving you like elderly advice.
yeah, but I mean if they're
I guess
cooking or helping you
actually
cook or things
was
like this,
Jeffrey
yeah.
off of Fresh Prince, was he seen as a? I know in the new version he's definitely seen as a caretaker. He used to just make fun of people.
Yeah, he
No,
was just roasting people.
nah, there was some level of like advice he would give. I mean,
He
he
might have
was
also
help with
helped you.
Will and all that, but like I feel like to
Yeah,
Ashley
no.
would give.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The younger, maybe he was when they were younger, like kids. He might have been more, almost like a teacher type thing situation too. Um, but yeah. I was just gonna say, I think it makes sense that it's in Japan though, because of the way that they look at their elders, and I think the culture has to be pretty respectful to their elders to incorporate this type of thing. Certain
Mm.
cultures are not so welcoming, and I think that could be problematic. But if not, I mean, I think the treatment has to be top notch too by the people who use the service.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, like that's an excellent point you bring out. The culture um, allows us to be a bit more practical thing, But I feel as if there are some things that happen in like Asian countries that just don't translate to the West. I don't know. I see a world in which this comes to the States, this type or the West in general. These type of services. Because if it
I mean,
truly
it
is on,
solves the problem too.
because if it truly is on the up and up, one, it's just another capitalist endeavor, so it's to make profit. But two, I think a society in which like older folks still have value, and I don't mean just like monetary, but just like being actively serviceable in their communities. And obviously, a lot of old people just do this naturally. But outside, like I said, society where older folks are adding value to the community, I think that's just just a plus in most regards. Okay. Dang, I thought maybe one of y'all would be against it. Imagine y'all's grandmas being rented out. That don't sound weird.
Being rented out sounds weird,
So,
but no, the actual action of it, no.
yeah, back when they were living, I could 100% see both of my grandparents being grandmothers. Well, all three of them being very willing to do a service like that. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them have had these type of jobs too.
Right.
Yeah, where is
So-
one?
So at the end
that's
of the day,
that's the craziest part. Yeah. Fair enough. Well, you already know I'm gonna say salute to all the grandmas out there. I think it's always worth taking a step back and giving a salute and expressing gratitude towards the older folks in the community, all the lessons that they've imparted, all the care that they've I guess provided as well. It just can't be overstated. It definitely can't be talked enough about how like the level of value again that older folks provide the community, and if we can make a business out of it, hey man, somebody's gonna do it. But if there's nothing else, we can move on. And I believe that is it for the topics. So before we fully wrap up, we have one quick rest in power. So some folks might not be familiar with the name, but rest in power to James Carter. Man, one of the most influential VAs IMO. Again, while you might not be familiar with the name, if you grew up in the era of watching dubbed or 4Kids TV, whether it be Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, One Piece, you definitely heard this brother's voice. You've heard his voice on the screen now for the just listeners only, audio listeners only, is some of the characters that they voice acted for. So yeah, recently they passed away at the age 71. Again, their career is definitely one of the dopest careers. You know what's interesting? I'm actually interested in the future in like talking to VAs, potentially interviewing one day, because it's just such an interesting profession to be in. To where like how do you get in? How do you get started? Like how do you like what is the ins and outs of that profession like? Like how do you, when you first get the idea of like that character, how do you like, especially when you have a lot of range, because if those of you who don't know, this is a voice actor that had like a decent amount of range, as far as like they have characters that have like relatively low voices and characters that have high voices, and that's just the basics of having a range when you do character voice acting. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to know what the ins and outs of this type of profession is, and this is somebody who I would have definitely loved to get their insight, because some of these are like dead ass iconic characters. But all that aside, again, rest in power. And with that, let me go here. this. Oops. There we go. Let me go back to our regular. No, not that. There we go. Hopefully this still looks all right. Yep, everyone's where they need to be. Okay, so as we wrap up the podcast, you know what we like to do at the end of all of our podcasts? What, if anything, are we looking forward to? You know what they say about having something to look forward to? Yes, maybe so.
Maybe more swimming.
I guess, yes,
Maybe.
you did mention that you're interested in learning, like continuing to learn to swim, which is dope.
Oh yeah. Couple weeks, Newport Jazz Festival is coming, so plan on going to a day or two of that. If y'all I forgot to mention this to y'all, but if y'all felt so inclined to link up, I've been there a few times and it's always pretty enjoyable, so might be a nice little outing. But yeah, looking forward to that.
Nice. Yeah, we could definitely try to make our way out there. Are you about to see, since you're the going to the theater type? Are you about to see the Fantastic Four joint too?
Yes, I am going to see that. I'm hoping it's better than Superman. But yeah, I'm going to see that one. So I think that's next week. So
for myself, I was looking at the calendar for like new show releases, specifically like animes, and there were like a lot that were dropping this summer. But I guess some of them haven't dropped yet. Like the new season of Sakamoto Days, and there was another series. But yeah, in general, there are some new anime seasons dropping. Like this new series. What's it called again? Maybe you know.
Is it Lord of the Mysteries?
No, not that
I don't
one.
know.
It's
It might be another one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that one too. That one too. Yeah.
Toka. That one looks really.
I know. Yeah, that one. I am also looking forward to it. Anime Lord of the Mysteries. I think that one actually dropped. It's based off like a super popular light novel / web series that I have not read yet, but that should be dope.
Fair enough. And speaking of
Underground also.
Yes, thank you. That was the one I was thinking of. Yep. Thank you. They made it seem like all these were dropping like early July, but I guess we still are technically in early July. But yeah, that's dropping soon. Speaking of anime manga, new One Piece chapter, which everyone's talking about how banger it is, and I would say that chapter that drops after a week of break, it's gonna be tough. Salute to Oda, aka Goda. And also, still in the same realm, this weekend is the North American Yu-Gi-Oh! World Championship qualifiers. So there's a big tournament happening today, and this usually hype. So that's how I'm going to be spending the rest of my Sunday, and I hope you guys are enjoying the rest of your Sunday as well. For some of us, already almost Sunday evening, probably.
Yep. Yeah, there might be some fireworks because tomorrow is the national holiday, the Bastille Day, as we call it in English. It's like their 4th of July.
Do you have like tomorrow off?
Yeah, I do.
Nice.
Oh,
we would have done a nice late night podcast. All right, sure.
Yeah, so I guess I'm looking forward to that. Plus, the summer is we have a summer shutdown in August, so we got a week given. So I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do then. Yeah, just enjoying the summer.
All praises. It's so beautiful that in some places you just get some time off to spend time with your family. So family and community is just naturally a bigger thing in places like that, huh? It must be.
Yeah, it feels like it. It feels like there's more accommodation for like if you have kids. It's understood that you're gonna have to take them to school and all this, and like if it plays into your work day, it's really, really not a big deal. Like it's almost expected that people are gonna have some interruptions, or gonna need to do this or that or whatever. And
Gotcha.
kids' holidays are always like determining things, like their school holidays and stuff like that. So
Makes sense. Well, even though you do have some time off, I greatly appreciate you and the rest of y'all coming on here and doing this podcasting week in and week out. We're getting a little bit more consistency these days, and we greatly appreciate any and all listeners, any and all supporters, any of those who like the video, subscribe, you know, just ever utter the words "be warned and be filled." And we hope that by listening to us, that you might have gained a perspective, or you might have learned something new, like the fact in the near future, you know, the women in your town and city might, if you want to take your shirt off, they might be taking their shirt off too. Or we just hope that you found it entertaining. And if none of that happened for you, all we have to say to you is be warmed and be filled. Thank you. And that's a wrap. Nice. There was no drop frames or anything.